That's why all over the world, a lot of people coming from jails out of the Congo in Africa. Where do you come from? The Congo. Where in the Congo? We come from jail. What did you do? We will not tell you. They're coming from the Congo. They're coming from Africa. They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Senator Vance, what do you say to Haitian Americans and Haitian immigrants who say spreading false claims about them put their lives at risk?
That small migrant community has caused a lot of problems. It's led to higher rates of communicable diseases. That's a verifiable fact. It's led to animals disappearing. Many of my constituents have said that has been happening.
And what's happening to our country is we're just destroying the fabric of life in our country, and we're not going to take it any longer, and you got to get rid of these people.
Between bomb threats and evacuations, the city of Springfield has been on edge ever since Donald Trump amplified those false claims about Haitian migrants who live there, and officials have warned that a campaign stop will only make things worse.
Springfield's mayor has warned against a visit from any candidate. The city has had at least 33 bomb threats.
There would be an extreme strain on our resources. So it would be fine with me if they decided not to make that stop right now.
The Republican governor of Ohio has defended Haitian immigrants, most of whom are in the country legally, calling them a boost to the economy. The former president once again promising to carry out the largest deportation in U.S. history. His rival, Vice President Kamala Harris, calling it extreme.
It may seem paradoxical that Donald Trump, a figure that has aligned himself with white nationalism, is gaining popularity amongst Nigerians, Black American men, and Africans more broadly.
Black conservatives are everywhere.
That's why I'm here to show my support as a black man for Trump.
Pollsters can't get enough of them.
The historic levels of support the Republicans are getting from black folk under Trump.
Donald Trump is cozying up to them.
Come here, let me give you a hug.
And the RNC was full of them.
President Trump, we have the greatest economy in our lifetime.
America is not a racist country.
And so you look at the people who really saying that about Trump. It's not no uppity Negroes, it's Negroes out the real hood.
And that's one reason why I'm pro-Trump and I'm a conservative, is because I truly believe in the individualistic approach to the problems that we see within the black community or in America as a whole.
Black Republicans specifically are some of the most disliked and unpopular political figures within the black community for a reason.
I'm pissed.
Of the 4 black Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives, zero represent majority black districts.
I am royally pissed.
In fact, they all represent majority white districts, something they seem to be very proud of.
South Carolina is majority white, correct?
Yeah, it's Scotia.
My district is majority white district. Your Utah is majority white district, correct? Michigan, Florida, is your district majority white district? Well, how do we get here?
Like, a lot of white people had to vote for it.
Is this a case of internalized anti-blackness, or perhaps a reflection of shared conservative views on male dominance?
What is interesting to me is how Trump's support amongst black Americans has been consistently increasing in the last year. And you've seen it being eroded from the Democrats, which is almost unprecedented, really, in modern times. Why do you think that is happening?
Well, it's largely happening because we're tired of being lied to. I mean, for how much longer can we have the Democrats telling us over and over that they're going to do all these great promises for us just to not follow through with anything? I mean, just look at the way back in 2020, Joe Biden went and acted like he was going to be the biggest spokesperson for BLM. Then the second he got into office, he had nothing to do with the black community anymore. We have seen these lies play out time and time again, and it's exhausting. And at this point, it's like, what do black men have to lose? Why would we continue to go the same way that is clearly not working for us? Why don't we try something different and get away from the Democratic Party? And that's why more eyes are beginning to open up.
The Blaxit movement, in this case specifically, black Americans leaving the Democratic Party, can be credited with encouraging the liberation of black people from political shackles. While the Republican Party isn't necessarily a better option, some are thinking outside the box, shifting towards independent parties like the Green Party. After all, what do they have to lose?
Because for far too long, we were told we weren't even allowed to consider conservative views or conservative policies. We were called coons and Uncle Toms and all these different slurs, and Why is that? Because they wanted to take away our power. They wanted to take away our power to think for ourselves and to go out and seek the truth. And that's why so many more black men are starting to go for Donald Trump, because we ultimately want a better future for ourselves and for our next generations.
The two-party duopoly system is inherently flawed because it allows the Republicans to conflate white supremacy and conservatism and aligns the Democrats with every trending movement they can co-opt. They stand for everything, yet commit to nothing. Both parties ultimately serve the same structure of white supremacy, but they confuse the masses into a cycle of programming that perpetually harms them. Each side manipulates voters into believing they are choosing different paths, while in reality, both systems uphold the same power dynamics. If you don't commit to one, you're labeled wishy-washy. Each political party has become commoditized, offering a menu of belief systems and propaganda programming. But in reality, individuals, especially sovereign thinkers, tend to pick and choose what aligns with their personal values and experiences. It takes real media literacy and critical thinking to avoid being programmed by the constant stream of bias and manipulation from both sides. If the political system truly reflected American values, we'd likely see 3 to 4 major political parties, much like in more seasoned democratic nations like the UK and France. This would allow for more tolerance and a wider spectrum of ideas and policies, representing the diversity of thought in the population, instead of forcing people into a narrow two-party framework that often polarizes society.
He was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this.
A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they asked are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that.
Trump's alliance with white supremacy and his detrimental impact on black American men through police brutality and the erosion of opportunities have not deterred many from supporting him. Despite his conservative Supreme Court picks shutting doors opened by affirmative action in colleges, leading institutions like MIT have already reported a 50% drop in admitted black students. And yet, as they purge black people from predominantly white institutions, they simultaneously ensure that black schools are defunded, a system reminiscent of the segregation era.
The growing problem in higher education. For decades, black land-grant institutions have received less funding than predominantly white schools, leaving faculty and students to fill in the gaps. The Washington Post reported that more than $12 billion is in the deficit of lost funds. Tennessee State University is one of many schools fighting to gain what is owed.
Both the good and bad of having to do more with less. There were times when we may not have had running water. There was times we didn't have heat.
As a professor in the music department, I'm still playing on instruments that's been here since 1962 that are older than me.
I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong. Historically, black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing.
When you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
Are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%. She was a DEI hire.
Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition of that.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Byron Donalds, Florida. Wow, that's nice to have you here. That one is smart. You have smart ones and you have some that aren't quite so good. But we have a group of
Byron Donalds, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, he's one of the smart ones. You have smart ones and you have ones that aren't quite so good. What the I need somebody to bet me right now. Over or under 2 weeks, he's dropping the N-bomb.
Trump's strategy parallels a recent law in Nigeria banning children under 18 from attending universities and taking the WAEC exam, as many high achievers in Nigeria have been graduating early.
The federal government of Nigeria has prohibited individuals under the age of 18 from taking part in the National Examinations Council and West African Examinations Council exams. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, explained that the federal government has directed WAEC, which conducts the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, and NECO, which oversees the Senior School Certificate Examination, to enforce the 18-year age requirement for candidates wishing to take these exams. Meanwhile, while the Nigerian Union of Nigerian Teachers, NUT, has condemned the decision. In Nigeria, it is fashionable for senators and members of House of Reps to marry 16-year-old girls and flaunt that as a major achievement. But they say a very bright, young Nigerian of 16 years is not good enough to write either WAEC or NECO or JAMB. Isn't this a misplacement of priorities?
Generally speaking, globally, there is no age limit to enter university. Generally speaking. In fact, I want to start by giving us some details of people who have entered university at very early age and had PhDs at very early age. For example, we have Ruth Lawrence, who entered at the age of 10 and earned a PhD in mathematics from Harvard at 18. We have Kim On-young, who entered at age 4 and earned a PhD in physics from Stanford at 15. And then there are others like Terence Tao, who entered at 9, earned a PhD in mathematics from Princeton at 20. There are others who entered at the age of 6, like Michael Kenny, and got a degree in anthropology at the age of 18 from the University of South Alabama.
In a country already crippled by strikes and chronic underfunding, this further weakens the already fragile educational system. While many point fingers at Nigerian politicians, the West often escapes scrutiny. But one must question whether hidden conditions tied to Western loans, as outlined in the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman, are part of a broader agenda to stifle African progress. Because in Nigeria, bad policies often hide somebody's fat wallet. This is unfortunate because when Africans, especially Nigerians, are put in a conducive environment, we are at the top of the food chain. These challenges may have emerged because the white power structure has recognized our success and growth potential, especially how education combined with social media forms a powerful force they can't control. Now is the time for us to aggressively pursue knowledge and unite as an educated class to confront and address these aggressive roadblocks together.
10% of white Americans have advanced degrees. 25% of Nigerian Americans have advanced degrees.
So Asians outperform all major racial demographics, including whites in education and medium income level. But if you look at subgroups, Nigerians outperform Asians.
According to the United States Census Bureau, 4% of Nigerians hold a PhD. That, folks, is compared to 1% of the general U.S. population. That is at least 3 times higher than any other ethnic group in the United States of America. They're way ahead. Also, 17% of Nigerians hold a master's degree and 37% have bachelor's degrees. These are people who are supposedly have no merit. According to data provided by Rice University in Texas, Nigerian Americans, folks, they are the most educated ethnic group in the United States. Sounds like merit to me. According to the Migrations Policy Institute, 29% of Nigerian Americans have graduate degrees. That is compared to 11% for the overall American population. More than 70% of black doctors in the United States are now of Nigerian descent.
Nigerians produce some of the most powerful engineers known to mankind.
Nigerian American Dr. Osatohanme Osemengi, affectionately dubbed the U.S. drone builder, is not just another brilliant mind. He is an academic juggernaut, boasting an astonishing 7 master's degrees and 4 PhDs.
What is the
64?
Correct. Multiply 1/3 by
5/6.
Correct. What is or are the prime
2.
factors? Correct. The cost of price of a gas cylinder is 8,000.
24,000.
Correct. What is the 7?
28.
Correct. What is the sum of the prime numbers between 1 and 5?
10.
Correct. Convert 70% to
7/10.
Correct. Express 0.000.
2.4 times 10 by -5.
Correct.
But the Nigerians are the most smartest people on the planet.
Right. Yeah, I believe it.
I promise you. There's nobody more smarter than a Nigerian.
The success of Black immigrants from Africa, academically, in their careers, professionally. I think Nigerian Americans are the most successful immigrant group.
Black immigrant groups have a median household income above the American average. Who are Black immigrant groups? Nigerians, Barbadians, Ghanaians, Trinidadians, all have higher incomes than the average American.
But it doesn't stop there. In regards to the workforce, there's the cancellation of diversity, equity, and inclusion departments in America. Why is there a global pattern of undermining Pan-African upward mobility? The healthcare sector follows a similar trajectory. During Trump's presidency, a high percentage of Black Americans died amid the pandemic.
I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country.
And generally, when it comes to healthcare in Africa and Black America, these systems remain chronically underfunded. Black mortality rates in American and European hospitals are significantly higher than their white counterparts. In Nigeria, attempts to build hospitals are often sabotaged by the government, the very same people who fly out of the country for medical treatment.
Martin Luther King said, of all forms of inequality, inequality in health is the most bitter or the most tragic. And there's something around like a 3-year difference in longevity and just lifespan. So being born Black, you pay basically a 3-year cut gets taken off of your lifespan. And in addition, if other conditions generally associated with being Black and brown, not having access to quality schools, not having access to the supports for school achievement, that adds, last I checked, another 10 years to the disparities in longevity. And so that's seen, for example, in sky-high maternal mortality, which is several times greater among African-American women than Caucasians. Asthma mortality in children is something like 400% higher in kids of color. And so that's why race needs to be considered in virtually every form of public service, every institution that exists. It needs to be examined. Are there disparities here? And if so, how can we address them?
Why is access to healthcare consistently restricted for Black people globally? From an economic perspective, those fighting for their lives are far less able to thrive financially, talk less of the medical debt they are drowning in. It seems the global system is designed to suppress Black economic empowerment. A web of policies and structures built through trial and error over the last 600 years. Every new pathway for Black liberation is systematically dismantled.
Will Black people ever be able to be self-sufficient or independent? This question is obviously racist, but I will answer it as if it was asked in good faith. First of all, before emancipation, Black people created the necessary infrastructure for their independence and self-sufficiency. In the year 1738, the first free Black town was established in Mosey, Florida, which means that there was a free Black town before there was a United States of America. The first Black-owned media company, a newspaper, was established in 1827. All of this was before emancipation. Black towns and neighborhoods saved and circulated millions of dollars within their communities, like the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma, North Nashville in Tennessee, Sweet Auburn in Atlanta, and countless others. There is a list way too long to fit into this video. And do you know what happened to those thriving, independent, self-sufficient communities? They were attacked by white folks. They were bombed, they were raided, they were terrorized, they were demolished. These independent, self-sufficient Black communities were fine and had existed for a very long time. The real question is, will whiteness ever be able to be self-sufficient and independent without Black oppression?
Now that Black empowerment is a hot button issue, with collective consciousness rising online, they are targeting the very tool that drives our liberation.